Oh, all right. I was just getting things all settled in. I'll move my, it's a LaCroix commercial too. All right, so we're gonna start. So what you're gonna need is, you guys should all have a big flat paintbrush, a medium flat paintbrush, and then a tiny small round paintbrush, okay? Just called flat because it's flat on the top. You should have an egg carton. Now, I put a lot of paint in my egg carton because I don't want to get up and have to refill it. So I put a lot of paint in there, but don't waste your paint. Just put probably half this amount and you can always refill it. So I did not put green in there because I don't really have any green in there. If you want green in your painting, you can add green in there, or you can mix yellow and blue. So as you can see, I don't have any of these colors in my palette. So that just means that we're gonna be mixing a lot. So mixing is very fun. And that's why I torture you with mixing. All right, so the hardest part of anything is starting. So once we kind of get going, it gets easier and easier. But I teach in layers. So basically, this is just a lot of layers on one on top of the other on top of the other. But what we want to do first is kind of get rid of all the white. And as we go, we're going to work on one section, let it dry, work on another section, sorry, laundry, work on another section and let that dry. That's what's cool about painting too, virtually, because I can do my laundry while I teach. How cool is that? All right. I hope everybody can see. So we're going to start. We're going to start by mixing our paint. So I always use this medium flat brush to mix with. So, and this is our fancy mixing palette. I'm going to start with these yellows and oranges in there. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to take my yellow paint and I'll do 2 scoops of yellow onto my plate, okay? Now I don't like to wash my brush unless I really, really have to. If you've painted with me, you know that. So the way I get around that is instead of dipping my dirty brush right in the middle of the paint, I scoop it from the edge. So I'm actually gonna do 2 scoops. Actually, let's do 3 scoops of white, okay? So we have 3 scoops of white and then 2 scoops of yellow. I'm gonna mix that together like that. You guys feel free to put music on. I haven't perfected how to use my iTunes with my video going, so that's my technology skills will slowly be coming to the surface. All right, so now we have yellow, okay? And we're gonna do some orange. So since there's yellow and orange, I'm not even gonna wash my brush off. So, but I'm gonna do that thing where I take it from the edge. So let's do 2 scoops of yellow. And let's just add a little bit of red to that because red's gonna overpower it, okay? You're gonna have a nice yellow color. I mean orange, excuse me. Nice orange color there. Now I want you to actually add a little bit of white to that just to make it a little bit more creamy. It covers better too, so. All right, now we have those 2 colors. Now I'm gonna have you wash your brush, okay? So wash that really good. See, rookies will know you never put your drinks next to your water. Now, I'm not a rookie. I always put my drink next to my water. And you know what happens when you do that? You either drink your paint water or you clean your brush with your drink. So luckily it's a can though, so a little easier when it's a can. It's okay though. I've drunk a lot of paint water before. And I painted with a lot of wine and coffee. All right, cool. So once you get that really nice and clean, I really want you to concentrate on drying it off. Water likes to get stuck in this metal part here, so I just like to make it extra dry, okay? The reason why I had you do that is because now we're gonna be doing the blue, okay? So what I want you to do, I want you to take, you can actually probably take, see how I have a little bit of orange in there? I don't really care, it doesn't really matter. Take 3 scoops of white in there. And let's do 2 scoops of blue and see where that brings us. Okay, so we're going for a light blue, and I want you to, and we need a lot of blue. So keep on adding blue until it's a nice blue that you like. And I think I'm gonna add a tiny bit of black to that, just a bit, just to make it a little bit more sophisticated of a blue and not so cartoony. It's kind of like neutralizing it, okay? Make it a little less smurfy. Now, you could also use its complement, which is orange. And we'll talk about that as we go. So you can darken a color by using its complement. Now, I don't expect everybody to know what the complement, of a color is. It's all on the color wheel. But orange and blue are complementary colors, okay? So if you want to make dark orange, you could add some blue to that, just a little bit of blue to orange, and it'll turn like muddy dark orange. If I wanted to make a darker blue, I could add orange to that, and it'll do the same. It's good for when you're painting fruit and things like that, and you want to keep that vibrance of those colors. All right, so now wash your brush. Now you want to wash your brush really good because we're going back to the yellow, and you don't want blue in your yellow. You could test it by doing that. So wash it off really good. Okay. Just broke my paintbrush, so that's always good. That's when we know you're hardcore is when you break your brushes. Okay, so if you look at this painting, okay, you can see that if I was going to put an imaginary line in between, that this horizon line is just a little bit lower than that. Now, that is just, I'm just saying that so you're aware. Does it need to be there? No, it absolutely does not need to be there. I just want you to be aware, okay? So you can, it's almost like gridding. You can put imaginary lines to help you with placement of things. As long as you're aware, then you can make your own decisions when it comes to that stuff. So you're gonna take this medium flat brush, okay? And you're gonna use it this way, okay? You're gonna use it horizontally. And you're not selling your soul here, so we're gonna just put the first strokes down, okay? We're gonna really add on to that. But when you go this way, it gives you like nice sort of like thinner brush strokes than if you were going this way. So just kind of wherever your sun's gonna go, or your moon, whatever you want that to be, that's where that's gonna go. So just put some stuff down there. Don't even wash your brush. You can kind of go on to orange and just have fun, have fun with it. Kind of play around. You can move your brush this way if you want. But the thing is, I want this to be nice and thin, okay? Because we're going to come back and do another layer, okay? And just kind of put them all around. And it's not about copying this painting, because even every painting I do is different than the original that I do, okay? If this was about copying, this wouldn't be very exciting, would it? All right, I want you to go back to the yellow here, and now we're just going to kind of put some stuff down to where the reflection is going to be. Now the cool thing about acrylic paint is that when it dries quickly, and then it covers really, really well. So nothing you do here can't be fixed, okay? So these aren't like permanent brush strokes. We're going to cover them with layers and layers and layers and all that stuff. So that being said, I'm not even gonna wash my brush as long as I don't have a whole lot of, paint on there. You can kind of go like this to get the rest of it off. I really don't like washing my brush because water kind of makes the paint really thin. So we're gonna move to the blue, okay? And we're just gonna blue is gonna overpower automatically. So don't go crazy with the blue. Just kind of ease your way, and you don't need a lot of paint on the brush. Kind of just, I don't want it to look like a box or a circle around what we just did. So I want you to kind of make lines coming in. And so what we're doing is dry brushing. So dry brushing is exactly what it sounds like. The brush is not super wet. It's, not dry either, but it's on the dry side. So as you can see, I have some blue between these two colors. So I'm just going to kind of, and for those people that are obsessive about making straight lines, don't be, please. It does not matter, especially at this, at this stage, that line does not matter, okay? And you could fix it later if you want to make it higher or low. It does not matter right now, okay? So, see, I'm kind of like putting some lines in and stagger them. You don't want this to be, so uniform where you have like the exact same pattern on this side as you do on this side, okay? It's nature doesn't work that way. It's perfect in its imperfections, So just kind of stagger it around like that. And we want this to be dry by the time, you know, we're gonna come down here, go back up here, come down here. So we're gonna go in layers, and we want our layers to be dry. If you put an inch of paint on here, it's not gonna be dry. You know, you're gonna be just spending an hour and a half moving paint around, and that's not fun, okay? One of the biggest mistakes people make is they'll use, you know, an inch of paint, and there's a time and place for that, you know. There's lots of artists that use palette knife painting, and that's really fun. But when you're a beginner like this, you know, you want to learn as much as you can first before you venture out and do all that stuff. So it's really important to learn first. So you don't have to have it over here, because we're gonna have this big wave. Don't worry about that line here. I just want you to fill in all this with the blue. Like that. I love that sound of the paintbrush on the canvas. That's progress right there. Feel free to put your own music on as we go. Whatever you like, everybody's different. If you've painted with me, you know I love my Enya, or my Native American tribal music. Puts me in a very, very meditative state really fast. So what I want you to do down here is the same exact thing. So we're gonna kind of do the same thing in here. And we're gonna stagger this. Come over here with the water. See, I'm just staggering around now. We are actually going to go back and go on top of this with other colors. So don't worry, this isn't your final product, not even close, okay? We're just getting rid of this white. And the reason why it's really important to get rid of the white is because you can't really get a good sense of a color, a true color, when you're comparing it to that bright white of the canvas. So that's why I like to get rid of all of this first. Okay. And again, reminder, don't, you know, take it easy on the consistency of the thickness of the paint. So we want this to be dry. As long as it's nice and thin, this will be dry within minutes. Dry enough anyway for us to continue. So this is where we're going. We kind of want to get all that canvas gone. So what I want you to do is take this time now to kind of paint all the edges with this color. Just put a nice thin layer. Take your time, because this is also drying time. And we're gonna have mixing time, which will help give time for this, make time for this to dry too. So go around. You're not in any rush. This is great, a great form of meditation, because for me, when I'm painting, I don't usually think of what, you know, troubles I had that day or what I need to do tomorrow. I'm really just focusing on what I'm doing in the present moment, and that is a form of meditation. I'm sorry I have plastic around my arm. I got a tattoo today, so yeah. Priorities during a pandemic. All right, so get all that. I was the last one to get a tattoo, and they closed all tattoo parlors down tonight at 8 o'clock. So I felt terrible for my tattoo artist, who now isn't really sure, him and a lot of other people, what they're going to do during this time. So it's a stressful time for a lot of people. You know, I think it's really, really, really important to keep your, whatever you do as a form of meditation for yourself, you continue to do, especially in times like these. It really is important. So, all right. So what I'm going to do now is clean my brush off really good because we are going to go back to the yellow. Okay. I love painting, putting my water in mason jars. But I do have a lot of my jars devoted to, you know, my water glasses, my drinking glasses that I was like, I'll just use one. Now I have like, you know, 10 of them that were all they all pretty much look like this. So we don't use them for drinking anymore. All right, cool. So let's start again with the yellow. So we're going to dip our brush in the yellow and we're just going to kind of overlap again with this blue it's going to actually really soften the blue that you kind of cut in with before. Now you can go on top of that. Same thing up here, same thing down there, excuse me. And you can probably guess, we are going to do the same thing with blue again. We're going to cut it and we're just going to go back and forth. And we're also going to use other colors too, so it's fun. Just nice and easy, nice and soft. You know, feel the stress leave your body every stroke. So this is a great way to decompress. So I know some people get, you know, anxious or kind of like painting they feel like is maybe not, it causes them more anxiety and stress than relaxation, but I assure you that only is in the beginning. And once you let go and you realize that it's not about, you know, painting, especially with these lessons, people are so obsessed, sort of like their focus is on making their painting look exactly like the instructor's painting. And that's, to me, is just silliness because it's not about that. I don't expect you to have the same style as me. I don't expect you to paint like me. I mean, I don't know anybody who would expect that. And like I always say, we don't go to museums to see all the same painting. That we would never go. So that would be super boring. So we're going to switch to the orange now. We're going to just do the same exact thing. Okay? And you're going to see how even my painting that I'm doing here right now is going to look much different than that painting. And that's what makes art so valuable, is because once you do one, there's no other one like that. That's the original. Original works of art are the most valuable because there's the only one in existence. So it's really cool. People laugh at me because I do think art is such a powerful thing because really it's like giving birth to something. When you sat down here to your space, this didn't even exist, and an hour from now will have created something beautiful, magical, that was never in existence before. It's pretty cool stuff. All right. So, you know, there's really like, you have to decide when, you know, you want to stop for now and then go back later. So obviously that's my trouble. All right, let's gonna go to the bottom for now. We're gonna do the same thing on the bottom. And really this is just a building up process. And a lot of times people want to jump to, you know, their dark colors because it's the contrast at the end that really kind of makes everything pop. But I wait till the very end to do darks and lights. But I mean, I get it. I get why people get, you know, anxious to do those things because that really is what makes it look good. But for the way I teach, I save those sort of like the icing on the cake at the end. And that's really when things kind of go, you know, people are like, oh, all right, I like mine now. And I love that. But unfortunately, it's usually like an hour or two of, mine doesn't look good, mine stinks. And to be honest with you, it's just, you got to practice, you know, it's about practicing, you know, to get good at anything, it's about practicing. So don't be so hard on yourself, okay? All right, so wash that brush off and dry it off really good. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go back to that blue color. Now, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna start making that wave, okay? And you can adjust the colors around it. You know, by the time we do our first layer of that, this will have been dry. So you can literally cover, if you hate it, you can literally cover the whole thing, okay? Totally up to you. And I'll show you that as we go. But for the time being, what I want you to do is we need a little bit of a different blue than we have in our background. So what I want you to do is take let's do 3 scoops of blue onto your plate. Now, everything, all the colors I have here, I mixed with white. Even the dark, dark, dark ones, I mixed a little bit of white in there. So we're gonna make this navy just by adding a little bit of black to it. And as you can see, it's gonna make it really dark, okay? And obviously, that doesn't match this, because this is a very milky palette, and this is just too dark and shiny. So I'm gonna mix a little bit of white in. If you need to, you know, wash your brush off, like for your own soul, do that. You can always wash it off whenever you want. If you need to wash it between every color, wash it between every color. So I just want it a little darker than the blue that we had, okay? It's up to you how dark. It does not matter. It just needs to be different, darker. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with this shape. Now, if you put an imaginary line in here, you can see that the wave is probably a good 2 inches to the left of the middle of the canvas. Do you have to put it there? No. I'm making you aware, because you guys definitely need to have room for this moon, or sun, whatever you want it to be. So I'm going to just take note that if this is my center of the canvas, I want my wave to kind of just end there. And I kind of want it to, if this is the middle of your canvas, and this is probably like a quarter, maybe a little bit, yeah, a quarter of the way up here. It doesn't have to be exact. So I'm just gonna kind of make that C shape, start making that C shape up here, okay? Doesn't have to be perfect. Don't think it has to be perfect, and you can adjust it later, okay? Just put something in there. Okay, so you don't have to do any of the top part here, because this is all gonna be white, so don't even bother. All right, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna kind of I want you to just kind of paint that in. We will be doing other colors on top of that, obviously, but we're just gonna paint it in. I like to do brush, I like the way it looks kind of textured, so I kind of had brush strokes like this, just kind of like that. Now, but if you want to do this and have them nice and smooth, it's totally up to you. But again, try to keep it thin, because we have this is a lot of layering going on, so this is just the base, okay? So really thin it out. Okay, so as you can see, it's getting a little bit easier in the sense where you can actually start to see what we're painting, which is what makes it easier. You have a vision now, you have something to build on. So that beginning stage where there's nothing, I have to say, is probably the hardest part. So, smooth sailing from here. Really fill that all in. All right. So let's do that. What I want you to do is the edges again, okay? And this is the last time you'll be doing the edges. And also this is just biding some time, some drying time. Again, anywhere you see, you can go all the way across, but there's gonna be white foam all over there, so. it's really important for you to make you time. And, you know, I know a lot of people who say, yeah, well, I want to paint. I always wanted to paint. I love to paint. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't paint more. And I think people don't do it as much because, you know, they don't want to take out all the stuff. They, you know, they just feel like they don't have the time. But really, you make time for what you want to make time for. And I think that that's just an excuse, in my opinion. Not for everybody, but most people. All right, so what I want you to do is wash your brush off really good. Okay? And what we're gonna do is, we are going to, I wanna put some, a little bit more like brighter oranges in there. So obviously, all that means is you're gonna use a little bit more red than yellow. So in a separate pile, I want you to take 2 scoops of yellow, and I want you to add some red until you get like a nice, again, it's not about you getting to the color that I have, it's about you getting to a color that you like, okay? You can do hot pink if you want, I don't care. So hot pink is just pink with a little bit of yellow in it. I'm gonna also add some white to that, okay? So it's this nice bright color. And it's different than that color. I mean, it doesn't matter what colors you use. I mean, you could add purples in there. It does not matter. Totally up to you. But you wanted them to be different so there's like a nice contrast. I'm only washing my brush because sometimes when I mix, it's completely filled with paint and I can't get like that nice feathery look. So I like to wash it so it's nice and dry when I go to dry brush. So again, don't need a lot of paint, but you're just gonna kind of take that color and go in there. Don't worry, if you can, you know, if you go overboard with this color, you can come back with another color after it dries and, you know, kind of go that way, overlapping and overlapping. Don't worry about where the sun, moon thing's gonna go. Do not worry about that because we are going to put that last. And I don't like to paint around things because I feel like that's restrictive and I feel like you can't get a nice brush stroke when you're painting around things. Okay, so you can, there's nothing that's stopping you from going back to the other orange, going in, nothing stopping you from going back to the actual yellow and going back in. If you want to wash your brush in between, you can. But I want you to kind of concentrate on the sky. I want you to use this drying time to get your sky the way you want it and just go back and forth in these colors and just really have fun because this is what's fun about painting. Really just kind of doing your thing. You know, you don't know where it's gonna go. You kind of just go until it's the way you like it. And I tell people, you know, just glance at that and then look away. Because you don't need it, obviously, you don't need it to look like that, and I would never expect you to make it look like that. Even if you're a professional artist doing this, you know, do your own thing. And once you guys get really used to this stuff, that's when you start venturing out and doing, you know, taking risks and you know, kind of doing different things than I do. And I love seeing my students do that. I absolutely love it. Having the courage to go off and make, you know, do things that I'm not necessarily doing, I think is really, really cool. And as you can see, mine looks very different than the original. And that's what it's all about. All right, don't forget, this is a reflection, so don't forget this stuff. And You're gonna need all these colors too, because we're gonna put some inside the wave. So that's why I had you mix a nice amount of it. And just relax and try not to get frustrated. I think a lot of times when you get frustrated, it's when you want to give up, but try not to let yourself get like that. Okay. Now, I wash my brush and dry my brush really good every time I go back to that yellow color, just because I want it to be nice and crisp yellow. Really crank up your music, and as you can see, the more layers you do, the more this kind of comes together. I think music really helps you get into a a nice relaxing state, and make a playlist, a painting playlist. I think music is a big part of all this. It's moving and inspiring and all that good stuff. All right, once you kind of get this the way you like it, wash your brush. We're going to go back to that blue, that original blue that we had in the background there. And we're going to just do another layer around here. If you see any spots that need another layer, I totally do. And take it easy with the blue's going to automatically overpower, so. And don't worry if you go over your wave, because we got a lot of work to do with that. So don't worry. I don't want you to try to go around it. Don't do that. I'd rather you go over it than feel like you're restricted and not get that beautiful flow of that paintbrush, okay? Don't worry about it. I just put the wave there so we know it's there. Same thing over here. Don't worry about that wave. It's all just about nice, easy brush strokes. And don't be afraid to put some blue maybe inside a little bit. And, again, you're not selling your soul. You're, you can go, if you do something and you're like, I don't like where I put my blue. All you need to do is go back over it, okay, with another one of these sunset colors. It's not a big deal. I think that when people understand that and they see that, it's a little bit less scary. Okay. All right. So now we're getting going. It's great. All right. All right, cool. So while you don't wash your brush yet, just I want you to kind of take a little bit of that blue, that darker blue that we used for the wave, and I kind of want you to just start maybe putting some darker blue in there. In your, just make it a little bit choppy. Okay. And don't forget, this is not our darkest blue at all by any means, okay? So we're gonna have much darker blue in there. But don't be scared to maybe put some little waves in there, little waves in there. Come up to your sky a little bit, put some up there if you want. I like to put just a little bit. All right, getting there, getting there. Alrighty. So we're gonna soften all that stuff up. Like if you want to go back with the lighter blue now, you'll start to see that it's really just a balancing type thing. You can soften it up like that. I noticed if people do makeup, they're a lot more comfortable with paint. And I think that's just the comfort of having, using a paintbrush. It's all art. Okay. I softened that up a little bit. Soften that up a little bit. Okay. So we're gonna let that dry for a little tiny bit. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to take that light blue that we started with, okay? And we're just gonna I just kind of want you to have fun making like some shapes. Kind of keep that flow of that wave, kind of feeling of it coming up and over. Now, there's a lot of layers between this and this, so give yourself a break, okay? You're just gonna start. Try not to make it uniform, You know how bricks are staggered, so they're not, otherwise the wall would fall, You have brick, and then a brick between the crease of the two bricks. Try to think about that when you're painting. Try not to, be so uniform with it, because that's just gonna look like a bunch of lines. And this isn't about covering all, the work we just did. It's just about putting some interesting, lines in there and paint strokes, brush strokes. And really, this is when you get the most therapy out of it, okay? This part, I think. This is about being patient. Some people spend years on one painting. So, talk about being patient. All right. Once you kind of start seeing a flow, that's where we want to go. All right, so then you're going to go back to your darker one, and you're going to do the same thing, okay? And again, this isn't about covering everything. It's just about kind of putting stuff in there. Kind of starting to get that nice feeling of the water kind of reaching up and around. And this wave coming out. So basically this wave is just a mixture of different blues. And then, we take these colors and we kind of highlight it here. So, easy. So, what I want you to do now is let's get a nice lighter blue, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some white. If you need another plate, use another plate. And I'm gonna add some blue to the white. And I'm trying for a lighter blue. Now it does not matter, okay, what light blue you have, because we're all gonna have different blues, and that is what makes this so cool. We're all mixing different colors, okay? Now I added a tiny bit of, like a touch of black to that just to tone it down a little bit. Now it still kind of looks like it's very close to that blue. So I might make it, oops, wrong color. I might make it a little bit lighter. Sometimes you gotta just paint to see. So I'm gonna wash my brush off because it's super gooey. Remember, dry it off really, really good. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. Now, like I said, it's not about covering all the stuff we just did. It's not about that. It's about kind of like going with the flow of the wave, okay? And maybe they're all friends, you know? They're all kind of going in the same direction. Sort of like when sea turtles, you know, they migrate. What is that thing in Australia on Finding Nemo, and all the turtles are on that Gulf Stream thing? Sort of like that. These are all little turtles. That sounds silly. But if you get my drift, they're all working together. They're not, you know, this isn't about like, let's cover this color we just did with this color. No, these are all working together to make a finished piece. Because really, when you look at a painting, you're looking at, you know, the finished product. You're not nitpicking and, you know, focusing on, you know, one area at a time like we are. You know, we're focusing on one area. So, you know, you might kind of obsess over one area, but don't, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when it's done, the viewer's just going to look at the finished product. Okay. And if you really want to you could, I know I kind of like to I don't like to have my solid sides, but you can if you want to. I like to just add a little bit of color so it looks like it all continues around. All right, so what's cool about this is all you have to do is make a different blue. Like I like to take white and just kind of mix it in the middle, you know, so I still have my old blue, but then I have like an even lighter blue. And what I'm going to do actually with this blue, and I know this is going to be white, but you're going to take this even lighter blue, and you're just going to kind of start making this curvy wave. Now we're going to splatter paint later, so, you know, don't worry about painting all that craziness. But what I do want you to do, once you have all this down, I want you to, because I don't want this to be like a solid line. I want it to be like a nice transition. So what you're going to actually do is you're going to transition this with just like your nice lines. Make it a nice transition. So my motto is always lighter, less. So every time you go one step lighter, you put less. I like to put a little bit of lighter ones here so you could see the contrast between the background water and the foreground wave. Okay. So as you can see, as we're building and building and building, then the wave starts coming out. And that's like that with any painting you do, you know? That's why you have to be patient. And it's building on something. And there you want to like really take the time to make yourself a good foundation, okay? Because that is going to make your painting strong. Like a house. You have a wobbly foundation, it's really not a good way to start. All right, so what we're gonna do next is we are gonna wash our brush, and I'm going to have you guys mix a little bit of a darker color. So we're gonna start putting darks in that wave. And the reason why we're going with the darker ones now, and we're gonna come back we're going to go back and forth, but I want you to have something down for the darks just because I'm really wanting this to dry because I want to come back and put some of that beautiful highlights in that wave. So I think you know enough now to know that basically we're going to do that navy blue with less white. So I'm actually going to take some blue, and I don't care. I'm putting it straight into that pile. It doesn't matter. I have enough paint here. I'll do 3, and then I'm just going to add a scoop of black to that. So we want like a nice dark navy blue. Okay. But like I said before, we're still going to add white to that. It's a very nautical color. That might be still too dark. All right. And again, I'm going to wash my brush off because it's gooey. All right. Hope everybody is okay. And as you can see, you know, my shape here is different than my shape there, and it really doesn't matter. Everybody's is going to be different. So, all right. So I want you to take that darker color, and let's start up here because I want this to be kind of darker. If you squint your eyes, you can really see the darks and the lights come out. So I want you to kind of have some darks in here. Also, there's a lot of darks down here, so let's have fun with that. And we're gonna go darker later too. So this kind of, if you think about like stormy waves, they kind of go up and down, and use the shape of the brush, you know? And don't worry about, oh my God, I put too much. Don't worry about any of that yet because, like I said, this is a building up process, okay? So we're going to go back over. You don't have to put too much in here because we're waiting for that to dry. So kind of skip over this part and kind of go up here. And this is where it's really going to curve, and you can kind of just stop there. So it's very, very fluid. And, you know, if this is your, you know, first time painting, it's just like anything. The more you do it, the easier it becomes and the less scary it becomes too. You know, it's like, always reminds me of like, if I take a new class at the gym, I'm like really nervous because I don't know what to expect. And I think when people don't know what to expect, that is what makes things very scary. But once you know what to expect, it takes a lot of that fear away. All right, so I want you to take this same dark color, and I want you to kind of just come in, you know, make some accents here. You don't need to do anything crazy. And again, if you decide you don't want all that later, then that's fine. We'll get rid of it later. Not a big deal. Okay. And I fully intend to come back with the all the other colors too. So, and we'll do that. So wash your brush. Okay. You want that really washed nice because we're gonna go into the lighter colors now. All right. So even though you see the lightest on the top, we'll do that last because all this lights, all these darks and lights, we'll kind of go back like at the very end and do that. So you can't see, but there's actually lights in the back. So if you squint your eyes and look at this, you can see that, you know, it comes up here and, you know, it's like a little bit up there, and kind of just give your waves a shape. And you see how I'm kind of not sticking to a solid shape. I'm kind of just making little lines. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to see where I want this shadow, this highlight to be kind of like a shape like that. Okay. And again, we're going to use the same kind of brush strokes we've been using for the rest of the wave, and kind of just filling it in, don't overthink it, please. It's not a big deal. We're going to be doing lots more layers. You can kind of try not to abruptly end it, just kind of do some little transitional type things. If you want to bring it out more, bring it out more. It does not matter. You could always add more later. It's really not a big deal. All right, so I'm not even gonna wash my brush. I'm gonna go to the orange and I'm gonna do the same sort of thing. And I'm not gonna cover everything I just did, but I'm going to kind of add it to enhance all these highlights. And it's not about getting rid of all of these blue streaks we did. I mean, they're still gonna show at the bottom, but that's what we want, okay? And you can mess around with this too at the end. When you have all your colors down, and you can add a little bit more orange here, a little bit more blue here, there, everywhere. Okay. And then I think I'm gonna use a little bit of the bright too, but not as much, okay? I'm just gonna kind of have it for like the background when I do my final highlight. So let's see, before you wash your brush, make sure it's kind of as far down as you want and all that good stuff. Then wash your brush. Okay. All right, so now I want an even lighter blue, lighter than we've made so far, okay? So I'm just adding white, more white to the pile of my lighter blue that I had before. And again, this might be too gooey. I just have a thing about the gooey brushes. All right, so you're gonna take this lightest blue so far, and we're gonna add some light blue in here. Now it's just going to kind of enhance everything else. Okay. So I hope you could see now how all these layers are really what makes it what it is at the end. And, you know, it all works together. So with this lighter blue, you're going to kind of come up here and start kind of filling that in some more. You're going to need all of these different colors of blue. They're actually going to be the shadows of the waves when you have the frothy stuff that comes around, all the foam. See, mine's like not even, you can't even see it probably. I'm going to make mine, sometimes the color isn't what you think it is, so you have to remix it. So we're actually going to go over this with pure white later. But for now, I'm just kind of having fun. And it's really important to have this be like a transition and not an abrupt stop. Okay? Definitely don't want that to have to be an abrupt stop. All right. So let's let that dry a teensy bit. And now I want to get this done, and then we'll come back and put our highlights and darks, and we're done. So I really want you to love that background sun. So I want you to kind of take a little bit of time to work on that. Kind of solidify anything that you want. Now's the time if you want to. That line does not have to be perfect, obviously, but if you think it does, then whatever, you can try to get that as perfect as possible. And just fill it in. I like to dry brush a little bit of blue over top of it just to kind of ease the colors together. When you're dry brushing this, you barely need any blue in that. again, all these techniques get easier in time. I promise. You can take, as much time with this part as you want. Don't worry about this wave over here. You can go right over it. And here's the cool thing about what we're doing too. Say like I'm going over this like this, and I'm like, oh, I want to put some blue here. I want to take a chance and come in a little bit. See, I'm barely using any paint on my brush. Very dry, okay? But it's very easy to come back with another color. If you don't like that, just wash your brush off. Wash it off, come back with, you can start, you have all your colors here. Start with the yellow again if you want, mess around, go back in with the yellow, and, make it the way you want it, okay? And like, I can't say this enough. It's not about mine, okay? And that's the first thing people need to get out of their heads, making something look like someone else's, because there's too much of that in the world right now, and people need to kind of embrace their own style and love it, and that doesn't mean don't learn, because I think learning is really important. It's, there's always room for, getting better, and, there's never a point where you're, you could say you're a master at this or you're a master at that, but really, is there a point where, you can't learn anymore? I don't think so. I mean, that's what life's about, is like learning and growing. And so even paintings, I learn from my own paintings that I do all the time. I learn from teaching too, just as much. So when you're dry brushing this part, it's nice because you're like softening everything up, kind of adding your colors the way you want it. This is really the fun part. And on the flip side, you're giving time for the background to dry. Okay. So I'm sorry, if you're already done and you're waiting on me, you could just go, make yourself a cup of coffee or something. Or fast forward if it's not live. But yeah, that brings me to another point. We all go at our own pace, in life in general. Don't ever feel like you need to rush anything, especially art. That's not good. You should never ever feel like you're being rushed. And if you do feel that way, maybe it's not a good time to paint. I know I get like that too sometimes if I feel like, I guess I get anxious or something, or I don't know, who knows why you feel certain ways sometimes, but I don't know, unless you're at ease and, relaxed, and you paint, that's when you paint your best. So really try to stay relaxed as much as you can. As you can see, I'm going back with all my original colors, and I'm just kind of layering and layering until I like it really. And don't feel like you can't go back with that original blue either. And like I said, this is the part where everything softens, and it's nice. And just remember, we still didn't do the darkest of the dark and the lightest of the light, okay? But definitely take this time to kind of use the colors that we mixed already, okay? And you want to have, you want to be able to see that horizon line in the back, so use some of that darker blue for that. And really just hop from color to color. And if you could see mine close up, both of them, you'd know that none of these lines are straight. There's nothing straight about any of this. So, all right. So wash your brush off once you get it nice the way you want it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take some pure white now. And I just want you to kind of, don't goop it up or anything like that, but I just want you to kind of, because it's so choppy up here, I kind of want you to just take your brush and make it choppy. And we're gonna enhance that with some splatter paint later. The kids love that. Actually, adults love it just as much. I know I love it. It adds some cool effects at the end. So, and it gives it. This one I love especially because you have like these smooth brush strokes, then you have these choppy brush strokes, and I just like the contrast of both of them. So if you're doing this and you're like, it's not as white as I want, don't worry about it. We're gonna go back when this dries and put more white on it. So, and I like how you could see, all the brush strokes and stuff. I like that. Okay, same thing when you're kind of come down here, you just kind of want to transition it, make it a nice transition of like a choppy transition. I even put some whites down here. I even put some whites in here a little bit. So, there's never a point where you can't go back and add whatever. You know when it's done, okay? Nobody else. So, all right. So now that we have all that, so now I want to do the moon or sun moon. So this is going to be your lightest yellow. So I'm going to use my pile of yellow I already had, and I'm just going to add some white to it. So it needs to be like noticeably whiter, okay? Now here's where you could start with this brush and kind of mine's very gooey, of course. I'm going to start dry brushing some stuff here then I'm going to go to my moon because I'm going to switch brushes. Obviously we didn't use this brush. We didn't need to today, but for the bigger canvases, we use that. All right, so we're going to do our brush strokes here. So it's nice to have it here so you can see it gives it a nice contrast between the background and, the wave. So you can even come up here if you feel like doing a highlight up here. Go as far as you want. You can go as far as you want either way. All right, so while I still have this brush, I am going to make my moon glow. Actually, I totally ran out of paint, of course. And this is important because you want your you want this white, you want this yellow to be nice and light, okay? And you're just gonna go back and forth. And again, if you feel like, incorporating your other colors at this point, do it. Go back to, say you want more orange in there. Go back to your orange. There's nobody telling you can't. You are in control. If you want to go back to orange, go back to orange. So just like the sky we did before, I want you to make this the way you want it, really. So take the time because we're almost done. It could be as bright as you want. I'm not used to silence. Okay. Now that I did that, I feel like I need a little bit of a brighter moon glue. So I'm just going to put a little bit more of that back in here. Okay, I think that's good. So switch to my little brush. Circles are always fun with people. So basically what I tell people with circles is start small. And I like to use my pinky as an anchor. So if you just go small and then just get bigger and bigger as you go. And there's nothing about my circles that are perfect. So, I mean, I know people get funny about making a perfect circle. So what I like to tell people is as you go around, just kind of do that. And even if your moon, sun, moon is bigger than mine or smaller than mine, does not. It's really about how big or small you want it. Okay? But yeah, turning the canvas just gives you a different perspective. You can kind of see where you're off a little bit, because it really doesn't matter if you're a little bit off. I mean, even if you're a lot, the moon has been skewed in many different shapes before, so. Okay, all I did with this now, and you don't have to do this part if you don't feel comfortable doing this part, I just kind of wet my brush and I dried it off really good. And then I just kind of softened the outer edges of it to make it look like it's glowing a little bit more. And it also kind of is more forgiving with the circle. Okay. All right, and then if you want to add, some more finishing touches, I like using the bigger brush for this. Make it as bright as you want. Feel free to make noises if you want to. Keep running out of yellow. All right, so really this is, honestly, the end is really where you get to like kind of really make it your own. Let's see. All right, so before we put the darks in, let's do white and what we have it. So as you can see, my skies look very, very different. Well, not very, very different, but different because I did these two. So even though I did the same exact painting side by side, mine aren't exactly the same. So I'm going to dip my brush in the white, and this is where we'll put our final coat of our white here, okay? And I like to kind of just dab it on, make it look like very foamy. if you want to. You can do the edges, foamy edges. It just looks better when you put it on the wall. It's nice and crisp. You don't even need to have a frame or anything. Okay. Cool. All right. So while we have that white out, so you should have an empty spot in here, okay? Now I want you to just put some white paint in there and border it down. Okay. Now you got to get the right consistency for this, but this is where your big brush comes in handy. Now I like to, hopefully you have either a reusable cloth that you use just for art. I like to kind of make sure, I'm using this big brush and I'm actually going to hit this medium brush that I mixed with, okay, on to the big brush. But I like to practice on my tablecloth first. And once I get it to nice consistency, that's when I'm gonna do it on just my foam part. And you can go as crazy as you want. Okay, I went a little crazier on this than that, but whatever, that's good. I like a lot of foam. All right, so we're going to make our darkest dark now, and then we're done, okay? So the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to add a little bit of black to that darkest blue that I had before. Okay, and I might have to dab some. That looks good. Okay, so again, I'm going to wash my brush so it's not super chunky. And I'm going to dry it really, really good. Stick it in that dark. I'm just going to put some darks up here. You never really want to abruptly stop. Okay, and even if you say you put a lot of darks up here and you don't like it, you know by now, go back with the lights on top of that. Okay. So you have some darks in here. You can see, let's see, had some darks kind of going in here. Nothing you do can't be fixed. More importantly, we have lots of darks over here. And kind of gets rougher over here. We have a little bit of here, a little bit over here, if you want to do it that way. You might have to lift that up a little bit. All right, we're just about there. And if there's any point where you feel like you overdid any color really, all you do is go back to another color and go on top of it. Okay? So I hope that helps you feel like it's a little bit less stressful. Same thing here, if you want to soften that, if you want to soften any of the darker colors you did, go back with a lighter color. It's all that is, okay? Not a big deal. Same thing over here, if you want to go back with some lighter colors to soften it. Okay, and really, you're only done when you know you're done. But I think I'm just about done, except for maybe one more coat on the moon. I feel like it needs to be a little bit brighter. So that just means I put a little bit more white in with my yellow. And I would not recommend this brush for that. I would recommend the little one. I'm just being lazy. All right, looks like we're just about there. Oops, I hope you guys got all that. I hope that recorded okay. All right, thanks guys. I had a blast. I hope you love your painting. Bye.